There stood a sacred hill. It had been there as long as time itself. Mobs of kangaroos lived on the sacred hill. They looked after the land, and the land looked after them, and they were happy. Around the hill were plains. This was Blue's country. Potsy the Potteroo's ground was among the foothills. Trees the tree kangaroo lived high in the canopy of the forest. The rocks and boulders were the place of Rocco the rock wallaby. The kangaroos were home, and they were happy. So none of them were ready for what would happen next. First one, then four, then more. The miners came, and they came, and they came. They came to take over the hill. Soon there was no place for the roos, so they went far away. The roos longed for their home, the sacred hill. Blue tried to return to the plains, but was pushed back. The miners were too big, too many, too strong. Potsy scampered towards the scrub, but the miners were too big, too many, too strong. Trees climbed a favourite tree, trying to get home, but the miners were too big, too many, too strong. Bounding on the boulders, Rocco tried to get home, but the miners were too big, too many, too strong. Many moons passed, and still they were a long, long way from home. The kangaroos felt lost and alone. Tired and cold, the roos slept, and as they slept, they dreamed the same dream of old Clever Red, the spirit of an old roo from long, long ago. Feeling the warmth of a fire, they woke to see old Clever Red. He told them if they formed one mob, together they would become strong. They must mobilise. The roos shared stories of the hard times and of their love for the sacred hill. Potsy stood solid and strong and reminded the roos that together they could take back Blue's plains, Tree's forest, Rocco's rocks and the foothills. Rocco said they must have strong voices to speak out together. Trees told the roos that they must be clever to make it to the top. And Blue felt the strength of the mob. They had mobilised. The kangaroos were ready. Blue knew the way across the plains. Potsy scampered and scurried through the scrub. Trees led the way through the forest. Rocco knew every boulder, rock, cave and crevice. Finally, the kangaroos reached the top of the sacred hill. They stood proud and strong, and together they spoke out against the possession of the sacred hill. The myna birds listened, and they heard. Most of the myna birds flew off, but some stayed with the roos. There stands a sacred hill. It has been there as long as time itself. And every time the kangaroos look at the hill, they remember how they came together and spoke out and found their way back home.